When religious instructors try to teach children the virtues of my opposition, they generally do so by frightening them with my name. Frightening them with my name, my name, my name. That is all I ask of them.
Welcome back to River Queen Conjure, Oshun Ajay Exclusive, and No Narc Network TV. I am the Oracle / Badass Witch, Oshun Ajay. Today we're going into Lesson 8 of Dissecting the Devil. We have had a short hiatus. I think we all needed that. I most definitely needed it. So we're getting right back into it, okay? The material is beginning to get a little bit deeper. So we're going to do a short review after this premiere. Okay. I'm going to pre-schedule the Q&A so we can do a review and a Q&A, and it will be later today. Okay. So just check for the pre-schedule for that. And we've learned so far again about the devil's tactics that he uses, and we're continuing to learn them. But we have learned that the battlefield is the mind. Okay. And we've also learned that the target demographic is the youth. Not to say that, adults are not inflicted. It's just that it happened for most adults. The devil infiltrated their minds at a young age, usually during a traumatic time or season in their lives. Okay. And so the reason why we need to know that is to know how to reverse the law of hypnotic rhythm in which these people are caught in, which is why they repeat the same destructive actions over and over again with never reflecting or evaluating themselves or their actions or behavior, never holding themselves accountable. And essentially seeing themselves in their own minds as still a child. They may be 30 plus, 40, 50, 60 years old. And a narcissist still sees themselves at the age of 5, 6, 7, 10 years old when their development was arrested. Okay. So I know that you guys can recognize this in your narc, whether it's your parent or whoever it is, whatever capacity you have a narc in, they have experienced arrested development, and they are essentially still a child in their mind and in their emotional development. Okay. And so knowing this going forward and understanding that the devil infiltrated their mind, how the devil infiltrated their mind, which is basically inducing them into being addicted to negative thought patterns and essentially trapping them in the repetitive loop of hypnotic rhythm that we are beginning to reverse with the visioneering and brain training exercises that we began at the end of lesson 4 and that we will continue to do going forward. So the Dissecting the Devil classes will go private anytime. They can go private any point after lesson 10. So if you are interested in joining the private group where you can get the entirety of the material and information, then subscribe to Oshun Ajay Exclusive and you are automatically entered into the private No Narc network. Okay. And with that being said, let's get into lesson 8. Okay.
I kindle the flame of fear into proportions which destroy the child's power to think accurately. In the public schools, the teachers further my cause by keeping the children so busy cramming non-essential information into their minds, they have no opportunity to think accurately or to analyze correctly the things their instructors teach them. Before a drifter becomes my permanent property, I must lead him on and ensnare him with another trick. I will tell you about this other trick after I finish describing my methods of converting people into drifters.
Do you mean you have a method by which you can cause people to drift so far away from self-determination that they can never save themselves?
Yes, a definite method, and it is so effective it never fails.
Do I understand you to claim your method is so powerful your opposition cannot reclaim those whom you have permanently ensnared through drifting?
I claim just that. Do you think I would control so many people if my opposition could prevent me? Nothing can stop me from controlling people except people themselves.
So once again, you guys, this is where free will comes into play, okay? So it ultimately is a decision on the narcissist's part. It has to be one, a decision that they make that is going to ultimately break them out of the loop of hypnotic rhythm. And, I encourage you to not wait around and wait for that decision to be made, but to pay attention to what is and react to that accordingly, okay? In order for someone to change, they have to first recognize a need to change. They first have to recognize, again, the flaw that needs to be fixed. And this is what a narcissist absolutely refuses to acknowledge. Okay, so they will not acknowledge that there is a need to change, that they have any problems, that, they're hurting other people. If they can't acknowledge that, and hold themselves accountable for the damage and destruction that they caused, then they are definitely not working on it, okay? And they're definitely not going to make a decision that there needs to be a change, because they won't acknowledge anything, okay? They refuse to self-reflect in any kind of way. And this is why most people give up on narcissists, okay? And the reason why I'm pointing this out is so that if you see your narc caught up in this loop of hypnotic rhythm, the best bet would be to just cut off all contact, because otherwise you most likely will end up again a passenger on the bike of the little man who is going around in circles, burning, because he is mentally and emotionally in hell, okay? And understand, just like what the devil said, no one can break him out of that loop but him. His condition is at this point self-inflicted, okay?
Nothing can stop me except the power of accurate thought. People who think accurately do not drift on any subject. They recognize the power of their own minds. Moreover, they take over that power and yield it to no person or influence.
So the challenge, you guys, is to take control of the power of your own mind and stop allowing it to be influenced by all of these outside influences, and to be very on purpose with your thoughts, being very intentional, very strategic as far as using your thoughts and your thought patterns to build the reality that you want to experience, okay? And in the group, there is the first visioneering lesson with Dane Spots. It is up in the group, and then I'm going to also be doing some of the visioneering exercises going forward. So if you're not in the group, if you're interested in the ways that we are going to be kicking the other 90% of our brains into gear, I would suggest that you guys join the group by subbing to me on Patreon, Oshun Ajay exclusive, or on Badass Witch exclusive on Subscribestar, okay? But again, the challenge is to take back the power and control of your own mind, and to be very mindful of the quality and vibration of your own thoughts.
Go ahead and tell me more of the methods by which you cause people to drift to hell with you.
I cause people to drift on every subject through which I can control independent thought and action. Take the subject of health, for example. I cause most people to eat too much food, and the wrong sort of food.
So I have absolutely nothing against the mukbang community, however you pronounce it. But what I wanted you guys to pay attention to is how popular the mukbang community is, even on YouTube, okay? These are three of my favorites, okay? I do watch mukbang channels, okay? But the whole point that I'm trying to make is that these channels are very popular, and they make a lot of money. They get thousands of views. They have millions of subscribers because, again, the devil's agenda has been instituted. And so for those whose minds are very vulnerable and susceptible, it's very easy for you to get drawn into doing just what the devil said that he causes people to do, which is to overeat and also to eat the wrong things. Okay. So my three favorite that I watch are Beast Mode. So shout out to Beast Mode, SAS, ASMR. I love her. She eats octopus and all these exotic foods and fruits and desserts. So she's amazing. And of course, the Queen. Okay. She eats a little bit of everything, but she's becoming known as the seafood queen, Miss B Love's life herself. And Miss B Love does have over 1 million followers, and her mukbang channel and also her ASMR channel are absolutely the bomb.com. Okay, so shout out to SAS ASMR and to Be Love. Okay. So, yeah, I have nothing against the mukbang channel, but my reason for pointing out how popular they have become is to point out the fact that this is one of the avenues that can be used by the enemy to draw people into doing what he needs them to do in order to cause their minds to drift. So as a prescription, I would not recommend complete abstinence from the things that you love, but what I do recommend is everything in moderation. Okay?
This leads to indigestion and destroys the power of accurate thought. If the public schools and the churches taught children more about proper eating, they would do my cause irreparable damage. Marriage. I cause men and women to drift into marriage without plan or purpose designed to convert the relationship into harmony.
So we have shows like The Bachelor and The Bachelorette where people are going on these shows and essentially just choosing their spouse from a group of random people who auditioned for the show. Okay, so this is another one of the devil's tactics in action as far as causing people to choose a mate randomly without much thought about compatibility.
Here is one of my most effective methods of converting people into the habit of drifting. I cause married people to bicker and nag one another over money matters. I cause them to quarrel over the bringing up of their children. I engage them in unpleasant controversies over their intimate relationships and in disagreements over friends and social activities. I keep them so busy finding fault with one another that they never have time to do anything else long enough to break the habit of drifting. Occupation. I teach people to become drifters by causing them to drift out of school into the first job they can find, with no definite aim or purpose except to make a living. Through this trick, I keep millions of people in fear of poverty all their lives. Through this fear, I lead them slowly but surely onward until they reach the point beyond which no individual ever has broken the drifting habit. Savings. I cause people to spend freely and to save sparingly, or not at all, until I take complete control of them through their fear of poverty. Environment. I cause people to drift into inharmonious and unpleasant environments in the home, in their places of occupation, in their relationship with relatives and acquaintances, and to remain there until I claim them through the habit of drifting.
So anytime there is disharmony in your workplace, in your home, in your relationships in general, we should always be mindful of what is motivating our thoughts and actions.
I cause people to drift into the habit of thinking negative thoughts. This leads to negative acts and involves people in controversies and fills their minds with fears, thus paving the way for me to enter and control their minds.
So you can recognize this tactic in action when the narcissist is provoking you to react, to upset you, to engage you in some sort of drama or chaos. You are then thinking negative thoughts, which will then attract other negative thoughts, which at this point he has your mind, and then you will find yourself doing negative actions, okay?
When I move in, I do so by appealing to people through negative thoughts, which they believe to be their own. I plant the seeds of negative thought in the minds of people through the pulpit.
Meaning that a lot of your fear-based thoughts have been rooted in fear-based religious beliefs.
The newspapers.
Fear is also instilled by fear-based propaganda portraying itself as the quote-unquote news.
The moving pictures, the radio, and all other popular methods of appeal to the mind.
So it is in the movies, it is in the music, it is even in the children's cartoons. So yes, a lot of the stars that you guys have suspected of having taken an oath or working for the quote unquote devil, it is true. The transvestigations are true because there is an epidemic of Baphomet worship, and you can see this in the people who have mutilated their bodies to represent the Baphomet, to represent the Baphomet.
I cause people to allow me to do their thinking for them, because they are too lazy and too indifferent to think for themselves.
I conclude from what you say that drifting and procrastination are the same. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. Any habit which causes one to procrastinate, to put off reaching a definite decision, leads to the habit of drifting.
Is man the only creature who drifts?
Yes. All other creatures move in response to definite laws of nature. Man alone defies nature's laws and drifts when he wills. Everything outside the minds of men is controlled by my opposition. Everything outside the minds of men is controlled by my opposition. Everything outside the minds of men is controlled by my opposition, by laws so definite that drifting is impossible. I control the minds of men solely because of their habit of drifting.
Remember Charles Manson, you guys, from lesson 6? So remember him talking about how he hadn't broken the quote-unquote law, and I backed him up on that because of the sovereignty of the Most High. Okay, sovereign means essentially to possess supreme or ultimate power. Okay, to be absolute, unlimited, unbounded. Okay, by anything. And so again, what the Most High wants, the Most High gets. And it is absolute blasphemy to insinuate that a mere human or the quote-unquote devil could thwart the will of the Most High. The devil has no power other than that which he hijacks from you by making you believe in his illusion that he has power. This illusion was implanted in your mind in church, in school, and at home with the parents who without question accepted the religious teachings, doctrines, and belief systems of their religious teachers and organizations, which have all been hijacked by the devil's co-workers in order to fulfill the devil's agenda.
Which is only another way of saying that I control the minds of men only because they neglect or refuse to control and use their own minds.
So the only reason why a human being can experience free will is because all is mind, okay? And so the entire experience that you're having is happening within the mind. So, that is why death is not real. That's why murder is not real. That's why any thing that appears to have damaged a person is not real, because everything has happened to you in the mind, okay? And the reality is outside of the mind, okay? So we can consider the mind the matrix. And once you are able to get outside of your own mind, you are able to realize the divine truth that you are still very much a part of and not apart from the Most High. And the ultimate truth of who and what you are has not, because it cannot be altered. Okay?
This is getting to be pretty deep stuff for a mere human being. Let us get back to the discussion of something less abstract. Please tell me how this drifting habit affects people in the everyday walks of life, and tell me in terms the average person can understand.
I would prefer to keep this interview up among the stars.
No doubt you would. That would save you from being exposed. But let us come back to Earth. Tell me now what drifting is doing to us as a nation here in the United States.
Frankly, I may as well tell you that I hate the United States as only the devil can hate.
That is interesting. What is the cause of this hatred?
The cause was born on July 4, 1776, when 56 men signed a document which destroyed my chances of controlling the nation. You know that document as the Declaration of Independence. Had it not been for the influence of that damnable document, I would now have a dictator running the country, and I would stop this right to free speech and independent thought that is threatening my rule on earth.
So again, think about the book being written in 1938, being suppressed for 73 years, and then for 8 more years, until now, okay? So think about our current president and, his recent interviews saying stupid shit, and then also the interview with Vladimir Putin, who is a Russian dictator, who is obviously fulfilling the devil's agenda, okay? And think about how mindless our own president is, okay? Just like Pinky and the Brain, okay? Remember Pinky and the Brain? So our president would be Pinky, and Putin would be the brain. So the devil's agenda of people's free thought and free will basically being hijacked by a dictator who is fulfilling his agenda is basically happening as we speak. Check it out. So check out the signature wink that the president throws to Vladimir Putin right before they begin the press conference.
Well, first of all, Mr. President, I'd like to congratulate you on a really great World Cup, one of the best ever, from what everybody tells me, one of the best ever, and also for your team itself doing so well. I think we have great opportunities together as two countries that, frankly, we have not been getting along very well for the last number of years. I've been here not too long, but it's getting close to 2 years. But I think we will end up having an extraordinary relationship. I hope so. I've been saying, and I'm sure you've heard over the years, and as I campaigned, that getting along with Russia is a good thing, not a bad thing. And I really think the world wants to see us get along. We are the two great nuclear powers. We have 90% of the nuclear, and that's not a good thing, it's a bad thing.
So a little side note here, you guys, is that I remember the positive and the negative parts of the atom, the blue and the red, okay? Because this is used a lot to control people subliminally and also in hypnotism, okay? And I want you to watch how they're using it in this shot, okay? So they're making sure that there's more red, okay, than blue. Also, that the president, though he is speaking all this positivity and kumbaya shit, he is wearing the red tie, okay? And Putin is wearing the blue tie, okay? So it's very symbolic of what they both believe that they represent and what's really about to go down if you look closely enough, okay? And we'll talk more about that in the group, but let's keep it moving.
And I think we hopefully can do something about that, because it's not a positive force, it's a negative force. So we'll be talking about that, among other things. It's great to be with you.
Yesterday, ABC News aired a brief interview between George Stephanopoulos and Donald Trump inside the Oval Office. And George Stephanopoulos actually got Donald Trump to admit, while sitting in the Oval Office, that he's totally down for some light treason if the opportunity arrives. Here's the clip.
Somebody comes up and says, hey, I have information on your opponent. Do you call the FBI? I don't think
coming from
I'll tell you
Russia,
what,
you do.
I've seen a lot of things over my life. I don't think in my whole life I've ever called the FBI. In my whole life. You don't call the FBI. You throw somebody out of your office, you do whatever
Al
you do.
Gore got a stolen briefing book. He called the FBI.
Well, that's different. A stolen briefing book. This isn't a stolen. This is somebody that said, we have information on your opponent. Oh, let me call the FBI. Give me a break. Life doesn't work that way.
The FBI director says that's what should happen.
The FBI director is wrong.
Your campaign this time around, if foreigners, if Russia, if China, if someone else offers you information on an opponent, should they accept it or should they call the FBI?
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
You want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it.
So basically, Donald Trump sitting right there, one of the most prestigious offices on the planet, And he says, yeah, I think I'd take it. I think I would accept foreign aid to help my campaign if I thought it would let me win. That's illegal. I mean, we just had a huge, massive 2-year-long investigation into whether or not this was the kind of thing Donald Trump and his kids and son-in-law would engage in. And now he's telling us, hell yeah, I'd do it. Maybe I'd call the FBI. Maybe I'd do both. Maybe I'd take the information from the foreign source, which again, that's illegal, folks. Let's be 100% clear. That's illegal.
Does the Russian government have any compromising material on President Trump or his family?
And we are going to end lesson 8 right here. So meet me in the group, you guys, for some extras regarding some of the things that I mentioned in this video. If you would like to join the private No Narc network, subscribe to Oshun Ajay Exclusive. The link will be in the description box. And until we meet again, my people, keep it classy, keep it clean, and do what you got to do to make shit happen. Peace.